Howdy, everybody! Koricon here, and I am joined by Jaby Koay. How's it going?
Hello. How are you?
I'm doing well. I know you just got back from some martial art training.
I was just helping with a class. I used to train at this martial arts studio up the street a bunch, and I decided to go back and help out with the class I used to teach. And so the main instructor gives me a few students to teach for an hour. And I get some kicks in a little bit just so I can open up the rusty gates, because I need to get that training going again. And so I thought I'd start out by teaching and then eventually migrate into actually training.
So eventually in the future, you'll get training again.
Yeah, probably in the next couple of weeks. I'm warming up to it slowly.
Yeah, my kind of workout regimen is a little different. Like I used to weigh 500 pounds for a long time, and I had a gastric bypass. I weigh about 325 now, but my lower back was compressed and my knees are hyperextended. So there's no martial arts in my future, but I'm more of like strongman contest kind of guy. I'm never going to be skinny or ripped, but I'm going to be just strong.
Sure.
So I was thinking of going back to the gym because I used to do that in college. I used to do a lot of weightlifting.
Would you want to be that body type of that ripped person?
No. I did when I was younger just because everybody wants to. But I'm old now, and, as you age, we don't care anymore. So, I've lived with this for 40 years. I don't care. So just being strong and healthy is all that really matters.
Okay.
I need to eat better because I still eat crap food, but
yeah, I mean that's my big concentration right now is honing in on that proper diet. It's hard. It's tough. I mean, even for me today, I was doing pretty well, and then I was outside of I went to a restaurant. It's a small little place where they serve pretty healthy food, but there was a donut place right next to it. I was like, I've never been there. I should check it out today. I bought a couple of things. It wasn't that bad, but still, it was I could have just skipped that and been all right.
I've never been a sweets guy. For me, it's salt. So it's chips and pizza and meat, greasy goodness. That's the kind of stuff that I end up going for. But
all the dangerous stuff.
Yeah, all the dangerous stuff and carbs. Many. I love carbs, but I don't really do sweet except for maybe chocolate or cookies from time to time. I love cookies.
Right.
And whenever I go to work and they have every once in a while, they'll bring in a bunch of stuff that they need to get rid of. And I've walked into work sometimes, I go into the break room and they'll have 2 full-size tables full of candy and cookies and chips.
They're trying to kill you?
Yeah, I know. I'm I can't even go to the break room anymore, man.
Yeah.
I gotta go outside and go for a walk or something.
If you ever want your work to bring in the best, most delicious treats that you actually enjoy, just go on a diet and don't tell them. And the next day, that's when all the stuff shows up.
Yeah.
I was working at Yahoo some years back, and I decided to go on a detox, which I don't ever recommend to anybody, but it's a very, very strict thing, and it's very hard. And the second day I was on my detox, 2 huge boxes of donuts showed up, and I was like, oh my God, this is my weakness. This is so horrible. So yeah.
Yeah, but, I had the same thing happen a few months ago, about 6 months ago. Me and my brother went on I've done detoxes also, where I would cut out a food every day until I got to just water for 3 days, and then I would go ramp back up. But I had me and my brother had done the potato diet.
Okay.
Where you
This sounds like a real funny fad.
Well, it makes sense because potatoes do have a lot of vitamins, and then we would also take a multivitamin with it so that we weren't getting malnutritioned or anything. But you do kind of the same thing with a detox. You ramp down the food, and then you get to just potatoes and water for like a week.
That sounds horrible.
It was. And I haven't released, we filmed the whole thing, but we didn't release it because we both failed. But on day 5, we had a video. We're sitting outside and we're like, this sucks. I hate my life. And we do not recommend going past three or 4 days on it.
At least you have access to ketchup.
I can't do ketchup.
Oh, that was a reference to The Martian.
Yeah. I had a thing. I worked at a grocery store when I was 17, and someone put up a display of like a huge pyramid of gallon glass bottles of vinegar. And of course, somebody broke like half of them, and I had to clean it up. And it took me about 3 hours to clean up all of the glass and vinegar that were spilled over like 3 aisles. And ever since then, I can't do the smell of vinegar. So
oh, wow.
I lost my taste of ketchup. If I smell ketchup because of the vinegar in it, it makes me sick. So
oh, wow.
I can only do barbecue.
Okay.
Barbecue and honey mustard. That's about it.
Okay.
But it really sucks for like trying to eat healthy. If you want to eat salad or something, vinaigrettes are the best kind of dressing. And I can't do a lot of them because they make me want to vomit.
Yeah.
If I smell it.
Yeah.
So getting into some YouTube stuff.
Yeah.
I am a big tech guy. We were talking a little bit about this before we started filming, but like I'm more of a PC guy. I like to build my computers, have a lot of control over my stuff. I've been building computers since like 1989 when I was about 11.
Okay.
And what kind of hardwares do you use? Like computers, cameras, lighting, blah, blah, blah.
Let me see if I can give you a quick rundown. For the reaction area, I have, I'll start with a monitor. It's a widescreen Dell monitor that's about 34 inches. And then what we shoot with is the Canon 80D, which might get replaced. I'll get into that later on. We have 5 newer lights, a newer monitor, and a Rode mic above me with a shotgun mic backup that's connected to a backup recorder. And the Rode mic is connected to a 10-foot cable that runs into the camera. And we have a stand to have the overhead mic instead of it being like way back behind the monitor. For what I'm talking to you on now, it's a Logitech, I believe it's a C920, and a Bose speaker for the sound. So I think that's it in terms of interesting. Oh, I'm using a Mac Pro for everything with the reactions and whatnot. I decided to upgrade to a Mac Pro because it's a very, very quiet machine. And whenever I'm doing live streams, whenever I'm doing conversations like this with and interviewing people, it's an excellent computer to have because even when it's at full blast, I can barely hear it, unless it's really quiet in the apartment, then I can't hear it. But in terms of editing, Achara is usually editing, and I'm editing next to her. And so I have a iMac Pro and that's a 27-inch screen with an attached Dell 27-inch 4K screen. And then I'm using a 38-inch Dell curved screen monitor with a 21-inch vertical Dell monitor next to it, which is just like, we have monitors everywhere in there. And then we have like a 40-inch 4K TV above us if I ever need more room to just look at stuff. Like sometimes when I'm doing vlogs and whatnot, I just need as much screen real estate as possible to look at photos and videos and see what my options are. And that, believe it or not, that 38-inch monitor, along with this 21-inch over here, is just not enough sometimes. And so having that 4K display above me helps a lot. And then I use a Hackintosh computer. So it's a PC converted into a Macintosh, which is something I don't ever plan to do again. I mean, at least as far as I'm concerned right now, like I tried editing on PC at one point, but it didn't have, it's just slightly different in Adobe Premiere. And I'm very, very lazy with adjustments. Like it took me so long to move from Final Cut Pro 7 to Adobe Premiere. Yeah,
there's a huge learning curve.
Yeah. And it's like, I started out with Premiere and it took me forever to get to Final Cut because I liked Premiere. And then I moved to Final Cut because it was Apple. And then Apple did Final Cut X, which pissed me off. And so I went to Premiere eventually. And now everyone's like, no, you should go back to Final Cut. It's the best. I'm like, every time I try to open up Final Cut X, I just get mad. But I'm just so accustomed to the Mac OS now that I'm like, I like how this is. But I do use a PC in my living room for gaming, and I might upgrade that at some point because it is pretty much outdated now. So, and if you're curious about the hardware in the Hackintosh, I believe it's a 4970K overclocked processor, which is, older now.
Yeah.
And the graphics card in there is a Titan X GPU, 12 gigabytes, which is overkill, with 32 gigabytes of 1600 megahertz memory.
Wow. 1600?
Yeah.
That's kind of low on the...
It was fine at the time.
Okay.
Now it's 2100 and 2800 and blah blah blah, and I'm like this.
The computer I'm planning on building, like the base RAM I would do is 3200 to 4000 depending on the motherboard that I have. Mm-hmm. But I'm running the computer I'm running on. I built 8 or 10 years ago, mm-hmm. and it's got an i7, but it's like 3rd generation i7, and I've got 16 gigs of 3200 DDR3.
That must have been really expensive at the time.
No, because a friend of mine is a huge gamer and he wanted me to play Fallout 4. And I told him I'm not going to buy it because I'll probably play it for 3 months and that's it. But he wanted me to play it so bad that he bought me the RAM, and then he also bought me a NVIDIA 760 to put in my computer just so I could play it. And I played it for like 3 months and then that was it. But he was like, wasn't it cool? I'm like, yeah, thanks for the $500, $600 worth of equipment.
Wow. That's really cool.
Yeah, he's a good friend.
Yeah. Is that still what you're running, the GTX 760?
Yeah, that's still what I'm running. I want to upgrade. I don't know. So the computer build that I'm planning right now, which is going to take me most of the year to, save up and buy the parts individually over time. I'm debating on whether or not I want to do the 8700K or wait until the i9 990K comes down in price with the new CPUs coming out. Mm-hmm. We'll see how much it comes down. It may not come down very much, and I'll end up with an 8700K anyway. And then the GPU, I'm kind of flip-flopping between the 1070 Ti or the 1080 Ti. It's just the couple of $100 increase for the 1080 Ti. I don't know if it's...
Are you gaming?
No, but I am doing a lot of rendering, and so having the extra... That's the thing. It's like a small bump between the 1070 Ti and the 1080 Pi when you're doing video rendering that I don't know if it's worth the bump. That's why I'm kind of going towards the 1070 Ti.
Yeah. And what are you working with, Adobe?
Yeah. Yeah, I do Premiere.
I think Adobe is mostly dependent on your processor speed.
It is, especially if you have multiple threads going on, but you want to have a high gigahertz on the threads. Like the 2700X, the AMD chip that came out. It's like 8 cores, 16 threads, but I think they run at a lower gigahertz. So are you going to have an
NVMe for your OS?
Yeah, I want an M.2, and I was looking at the, the Evo. Mm-hmm. I was looking at the Evo, probably a 500 gig. I want the 1 terabyte, but it's so expensive.
Those things, all the solid state memories come down in price quite significantly. Like 4 terabytes of the solid state drives, not the NVMe because they don't make those
the SATAs.
Just the regular SATA drives. Those used to be like $1,400 and they've come down to like $700 or something crazy. And so I pay attention to all that stuff because I'm big on hard drives and keeping my data secure. And so like at one point even right now I have a RAID with 8 drives in it, and it's like double redundancy in there. And then I've got a backup to all that outside of it in a safe, secure case.
Wow.
Yeah. And then in addition to that, I have some solid state drives with like all the precious family photos and memories inside of a safety vault somewhere that, my mom is the one who has access to. Well, so,
Yeah, my computer is so old that I actually have IDE slots on the top of my case. So I actually have 2 IDE hard drives because I can just put them in and take them out like a flash drive.
Oh, nice.
So I have got 3 2-terabyte Western Digitals.
Yeah.
That I will like drop in, and that's all my backups. But I don't have any RAIDs going on just because I don't have, like, the computer's so old I can't fit like 8 drives in there. But I was looking at like the X390, X370, they can handle a lot of SATA drives. And so having the mechanical like 7200 RPM kind of backup drives,
yeah, I
could fit a bunch of them in there and make it a workstation.
If you were able to afford it, like the more you can afford for that M.2 drive, the better, because like with that iMac Pro, when it renders, it is blistering fast. It's like ungodly fast. I'm like, oh, how is that possible? Because I was used to working with my Hackintosh, and it would take like, if it was a 10-minute video, it would take 10, 11 minutes to render out. And I'm working with some decent hardware, and so the iMac Pro will take that same 10, 11 minute video and do it in 3 or 4 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah, it's because it's like the memory, all that data, or the what do you call it? It's not a hard drive, but the solid state drive is soldered directly to the motherboard. Well,
it's using one of the PCI slots. So
exactly.
It's going to the CPU just as fast as the GPU on your graphics card.
Exactly.
And so having a solid state drive that uses a PCI Express, pathway, it's almost instant. It's insane. And if you have a CPU with enough cores that can handle that kind of speed, it would be insane. Because I was thinking of getting the 2700X just because of the extra cores, but the gigahertz per core is a little bit lower than the 8700K. And so even though the 8700K runs really hot, I think if I have a proper cooling in there, it'll be just fine.
Okay.
The only problem is I live in Colorado. We have a very dry climate. Mm-hmm. I prefer air cooling, even though it's a little louder, because I don't feel like maintaining a water-cooled system.
What if it was a closed loop?
Yeah, I was considering a closed loop.
That's what I've been using for years. My CPU is cooled with a closed loop water cooler, and the GPU is a hybrid. So it's air and water.
Oh, nice. On the GPU?
It just came like that. Yeah, that's how I bought it. The Titan X.
Right. That's right.
I don't mess with water cooling like just on its own. It's just like that. It's like I loved building computers when I was building it, but like now I'm at the point where I'm like, I don't have that kind of time. Like I love watching Linus tech tips.
Yes, same here. I watch that all the time.
I like watching him take apart computers and put it back together, all that stuff. Like I enjoy watching other people do it who know what they're doing. I don't enjoy doing it anymore. Like there's every now and then I get an inkling of building just a small thing, and I'm like, you know what? That's a lot of time that I just don't have right now. And so I like talking about it. I like watching and learning about it just so I'm in the conversation. But it's very much one of those. It's almost like an ex-MMA fighter or something. Like I know about that stuff. I'm not doing it anymore, but I can talk to you about it.
Right. Like I'm going to be starting a 3rd channel, just Koricon Tech.
Yeah.
Just kind of. I'm not going to be uploading very often on it. It's more going to be like whenever I get a part in, or like some people who've been on my Koricon Knowledge channel for a while. I've uploaded a couple of tech review videos just from companies that wanted to send me free stuff and to review, and I would do that, and I would just play with it, and people could see if it sounds good or not, or does what it does. but I don't want to do anymore. I have one more that I have to do on Koricon Knowledge just because I promised it. But after that, I think anything, I'm going to just throw it up on that third channel. And I'm probably not even going to promote it much, just put it on social media and see what happens. But I like talking about tech. And so I want to do some more like simplistic videos, things for beginners, like how to ground yourself, you know, how to convert an old computer case into a test rig, you know, so you can like swap things out pretty easy.
Right.
That kind of stuff. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I've thought about doing tech stuff, and for me, it's very, very passive. Like I have two other channels running right now besides Jaby Koay, and Get Jaby stands for Games, Entertainment, and Tech, because like, and I want to do like more tech stuff, but it's every time I'm about to get into it, I just think of just everything that's involved. Like I remember years ago with my ex-girlfriend, we shot twice us building a computer, and I just never put that video together because it was like so involved that by the time I got to the end of the shoot, I was like, fuck this. And I just threw it to the side. I'm like, no one needs to watch this ever. It's just two nincompoops trying to build a computer. Like you've already got people like Linus out there. I mean, it was one of those things where we were genuinely trying to do it, and we were not enjoying the fact that we were bad at it.
I've been building computers since 1989. My first computer was a 386DX that I made out of spare parts because we were poor, and so my dad just got a box of spare parts from a guy at his church, and he gave it to me. I was like 11, and I went to the library. You know, before there was internet, we had to go to the library. And I got a book on how to build a 386DX, and I just figured out what the parts were, and I assembled it and got it working. And ever since then, I just love hardware. But I'm not big on software. Like I hate programming. You know, I had to program in C++, Pascal, BASIC, but I never really liked it.
That's so unfortunate because that's where all the money.
I know, but it's so boring.
Yeah.
It takes for like, I want to do things with my hands and not just typing. Like I want to unscrew things. Like my parents used to have to go to yard sales and buy a bunch of cheap stuff just to give it to me so I wouldn't take apart the expensive things in the house.
Oh, wow. Okay.
When I think I was like 3 or 4, I found out what a screwdriver did. And my mom found me trying to take outlets off of the wall just because there was a Phillips screw in the middle. She's like, no, we can't have that. So they would like buy old alarm clocks or, you know, little stereos that they could get for $1, and they would let me take it apart. Yeah.
Programming is a special kind of discipline because I messed around with HTML back in the day where I would look at other people's code and try to understand it and decipher it and do my spin on it to make my own websites and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I would spend hours trying to understand it, and it would just make me mad. I would get pissed off, and then I'd call my friend over, and he's like, oh, you missed a period right here, and that fixed everything. And I'm just like, this is so dumb. Like, why isn't this easier? And then if you use like the Windows make your own website software, it's garbage. And like, it's got too much extra programming in there. Back in the day, we had 56K modem. We didn't have DSL or T1 lines or whatever. And so if you had extraneous coding in there, it slowed it down. It slowed down how long it took to load. Mm-hmm. And people's attention span wasn't that much more back then than it is now. No. It was like, if it didn't load in 10 seconds, people clicked out, you know? Yeah. And so.
Yeah, but tough. Back in the day with Napster, like, I had a 56K modem as well, but I thought it was funny because phone lines can only handle 28.8. So even though you have a 56K modem, you're not running at 56, you're running at 28.8. Yeah. But yeah, we would go on Napster and download a song. It would take like 6 hours.
Yeah, that or LimeWire.
Yeah.
But back in the day, like I had a Sony Vaio. And I didn't know how to build a computer, but and I was fascinated with it. But my buddy got me into StarCraft.
Oh, and
so over modem, we were gaming, just the two of us against the computer. It was like insane. We would be up till 4 a.m. playing StarCraft on 56K dial-up.
Yeah.
It's just like, you can't even fathom the idea now.
No, it's insane.
Yeah.
Speaking of internet speeds, what are the internet speeds for you guys out there in LA?
Terrible. Like, I'm paying a lot of money for 200 down and 20 up. And I'm on this grandfather plan with Time Warner Cable. And it's switched over to something called Spectrum. Okay. Now, if I switch over to Spectrum, they're like, oh, yeah, you should switch over. It'll be cheaper by like $15, $20. I'm like, yeah, but what are your speeds? And they said, oh, it's the same. I'm like, really? The download speed is approximately the same of 150, but the upload speed is like 5 or something stupid. It's something ridiculously bad. And then to get even just 20 upload, I have to go to a tier above myself, which is more money. And because I think I'm paying, what, $80 a month, and they want me to pay $100 to get the same upload speed, but I get 400 download speed. And I'm like, that's great, but the upload is what I'm concerned about. I'm uploading videos, and I'm dealing with like conference calls and whatnot with people, and interviewing people. I need better upload.
Right.
And they're like, yeah, we don't offer better than 20. Like,
that's crazy.
That's great. I think the most I can get is 25.
That's nuts. Yeah, I was on Comcast when I first started until about 6 or 8 months ago. And Comcast, we had 12 down and 6 up.
Jesus Christ.
So when I uploaded a YouTube video, and my reaction videos are a bit longer than everyone else's just because my style is I go through the trailer afterwards. So my 2-minute trailer reaction ends up being like 10, 15, 20 minutes. That would take me like 3 hours or something to upload. But our city in Longmont here, they voted about 5 years ago on creating our own fiber network. And so we're like one of the handful of cities in the country that have a true 1 gig fiber network. And the fiber, because of where my room is, it comes in, it's right there. So it comes in to my wall, the router is there, and I got a T6 to my computer. So I end up getting about 850 to 900 megabits up and down.
That's insane.
Yeah. Like I can stream 1080p without any problem. Like with this, I have had no problems. It's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. And I can't go back. So I can't move out of Longmont unless I move to a city that has a 1 gig fiber, just because I'm so used to it now that I can't do it. Like I can't move to LA until you guys get fiber. I can't do that.
So I noticed your frame rate is slightly slower though. Is that just Logitech? Is that that's just how it is? So
I've got 2 webcams. The one that everybody is seeing me on right now, the viewers, you're seeing me on a Logitech Brio, which is a 4K webcam, but I put it at 1080p because I think the software, the processing on the Brio processes 1080p better than the C920. And then I have a C270 that you are seeing me on just because I'm using XSplit for doing my recording, and that uses the Brio, and you can only use one software per webcam. So Skype is using the 720. So the 720 might skip around just because it's like a $20 webcam. So for you, I might be skipping around, but for the viewers that are watching me, and when you watch this later, it'll be smooth as butter. Okay, perfect. Yeah, I end up tweaking all the Logitech settings just to get it as smooth as possible. Because I get panicky about, like, whenever I'm live streaming, which is not often on gaming, I get afraid of that kind of stutter look. I'm like, So yeah, you get the little motion blur, but that comes with your upload speeds.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. If you can't handle the bandwidth. One thing you might want to try, I don't know if you've done any of this, if you're either connected to the router that's going straight to, the line out, hardwired, and then if it's also a wireless router, disconnect everything from your bandwidth on the wireless.
Okay.
So if you've got a cell phone connected to your wireless, turn off your Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I do all that.
If you have computers that are on but they're not doing anything, disconnect, or either turn them off or disconnect them from the Wi-Fi, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I do all that stuff.
Yeah.
Just to help it out. So I'm curious, like, what is the end goal for you? Like, what is your like long-term objectives?
Oh,
I don't even know where you work. I don't know much about what you do outside of the YouTube stuff.
Well, I've got 2 jobs. Well, 3 if you include YouTube. 2 of them don't pay anything. So YouTube pays me, I probably get maybe $30 to $50 a month off of the AdSense.
Okay.
And then I also volunteer as a photographer and videographer for my local nonprofit paper called the Longmont Observer. So if you go to longmontobserver.org, you'll see me interviewing local businesses, or we recently went around town and just tried a bunch of taco shops, and we were like reviewing taco shops.
Okay.
And I do a lot of photography for them as well. So you'll see some of my photography up there. But I spend a lot of time doing that. And then my main job, just to pay the bills, I work at the electronics in Target.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's not a high-paying job, but it pays the bills.
But you know what you're talking about, which is great, because there's so many people. Oh my God, it's such a pet peeve of mine. I just on the phone today, in fact, I was on the phone with an Apple person because I've got this laptop here and I just want it to be insured with the Apple Care, right? And I talked to them and I was like, I got all these gift cards from Apple because I use a Barclays card, and I want to use that towards my Apple Care. And they're like, why don't you just do it through the website? I'm like, I tried that. There's no option to use the gift card. I wouldn't be talking to you if that was an option. And he's like, well, I'll walk you through it. I'm like, I don't need you to walk me through it. I'm looking dead at the page right now. There's no option. And so he's like, doing keyboard stuff and doing all kinds of stuff. I don't know what's going on his end, but he's trying to figure out what to do. And he's telling me what my options are, but I'm like, none of these are things that I just want him to do it on the phone for me.
Right.
And let's get this done. And I could tell just listening to him scramble on whatever it is he's got in front of him. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Nope. And it was like making me so mad. And I'm like, you know what, dude, it's cool. I'll just go to the Apple store and deal with this directly. And he's like, no, I can talk to this other person. I'm like, it's cool. It's cool. I want to go. He's like, okay, well, thanks so much for being patient. And it's one of those like epic goodbyes.
Right.
He's like, you have a great day out there. Enjoy the weather and take care of yourself. I'm like, yeah, okay, thanks. Goodbye. He's like, goodbye then. And thanks for choosing Apple. I'm like, God damn it. Let me go.
So I actually have, that's just an associate's degree in networking, but I worked as a computer tech for 8 years.
Yeah.
And the graveyard shift, because I'm a night person. But I troubleshot all of the touchscreen systems and networks for a lot of restaurants and businesses. So like Taco Bell, Red Robin, like all of those touchscreen register computer systems and the networks that they have going on. And I would get people on the phone that they either will admit, I don't know anything, please walk me through it. And those are the best, because they actually listen and do what I say. Then you get the people that think they know what they're doing and it's my fault that it's broken. And those are the people that ended up pushing me out, because I was like, look, the stress of that job is insane.
Yeah.
We've had people snap in the middle of a shift. I had one guy, he was on the phone and he just stood up and he was like, I can't effing take this anymore. And he just threw it down, started walking out, grabbed his badge and tore it off and like threw it at the manager and hit him in the head, and then walked out and just left. And then when a friend of mine, because they were on a different software than I was working, gets on the phone, and it's this like 19-year-old girl, and she's like, I don't know what's going on. Like, and she was sweet and nice. She wasn't mean. He just couldn't handle the fact that she didn't understand what he was saying, and he couldn't explain it simply enough for her.
Yeah.
I have no problem with that. I was a senior tech, so like people had to go through me before they could page level 2 and wake them up. And most of the time I could fix it, but it was like, yeah, you would have some of these systems that were over 20 years old. You know, they would have cables running over 100 feet. And I'm like, you can't have a coax cable running 100 feet, man. It's like your signals, it's not going to communicate. It was a weird job, but I got out of it, and I couldn't do that kind of tech work anymore. And then I became a realtor for 4 years. And then I just went to Target, work at electronics, because I'm like, I'm just going to do something simple, easy. I enjoy it. It doesn't pay very much, but it pays the bills while I do the stuff that I do love, which doesn't pay me, like photography. Yeah.
No, I was at Best Buy the other day because I was trying to find a vlog camera to use, and this woman comes up to me, and because I know what I want. I'm the kind of guy that researches his shit, and it's like if I have questions, I expect you to answer them. Mm-hmm. And I just wanted to know if this one particular lens was available at this Best Buy, and then she starts going into this whole spiel about the camera and all its features. I'm like, lady, I'm just going to cut you off and say, I know, like I got this already. And she was like mad. It was almost like, when you're at a restaurant and the waiter's going over the special and you just want to be like, I just want that.
I want the burger. I know what I want.
Like, stop. Yeah. It's not going to, you can keep talking. I'm not going to, I just want that. And so, yeah, and oftentimes when I have a tech question, I know that 9 times out of 10, they don't know what they're talking about. That's the most frustrating thing. So that's cool that you work at Target. I've actually thought about, like, just for shits and giggles, taking up a job at like Target or Best Buy, just so I can school them on how to understand what you're doing. Like at the Apple Store, it's the worst. They're the worst. Like back in the day, because I have a 10S now, but like you had a home button here and you double tap it to bring the screen down. Now it's like this stupid funky thing. I never use it, but you like, let me see. Yeah, can you see that? Yeah. Where you bring it down like that. It used to be a button that you would touch, and it was called reachability. It was called reachability. And I remember I almost choked this woman because I was so upset because it was a new feature on their phone. The new phones just dropped at the time, right? And I try to do it, and every time I press it, it was just going back to the home screen. I'm like, how do I asked the lady there, I'm like, how do I get reachability activated? And she goes, do you mean accessibility? I'm like, no, I mean reachability. And she goes, okay. And she looks at the phone and she goes into the settings just like I did. I'm like, okay, now clearly she doesn't know what she's talking about. No. And she goes, do you mean accessibility? And I'm like, no, it's reachability. This is your phone. Like, you work here. What do you have to like maintain? As a MacBook Pro, a MacBook Air, at the time a Mac Pro, and then the phones and the iPads. Like, that's not a whole lot to understand. No. And so I think working that kind of job could actually be a lot of fun because I catch people all the time at Target giving misinformation about why they should get this system or that system. Like video games is a big thing for me. Mm-hmm. And I caught myself a couple times like interrupting and being like, no, he's wrong. this is what you want to do,
Yeah, no, well, the problem is all of these companies, they pay minimum wage or maybe a little bit over, I don't make a lot of money doing it. Yeah. So you're not going to get a lot of tech savvy people unless it's their hobby. Yeah. Now I have a lot of training in tech just because I've been doing it for so long and I worked in it for so long, but for me, it is very much of a hobby. Like I prefer it to be a hobby than a job. I found out I don't want to do it as a job after I started doing it. But yeah, so your training, and I had to do some of this training and I thought it was hilarious that I had to do it. But they would take you through and they would show you videos, like the cameras, They would be like, this is a mirrorless camera. This is, you know, a DSLR camera, and this is how they work, and this is what this does. And I'm sitting there going, yeah.
I'd be like, shoot,
I could probably teach this, you know? Yeah. And then, but they don't have one for the computers that I remember. I had a lady come in. She was a graduate in college, and she was going in for IT security, and she was looking for a new laptop. And so I was explaining all of this kind of stuff with all the laptops. And I was like, you really want a Windows machine, even though I know you would prefer the price of a Chromebook or a Mac. But with a Windows machine, you have a much greater scale with virtual machines and being able to do a lot of detailing that you can't do in a lot of other systems. And after the conversation, she looked at me and she's like, why do you work here? She's like, you know as much as I do, and I'm a graduate. Like, why do you work here? I'm like, because I hated working in tech. But I love tech, you know. And at Target, I get to talk about everything. I get to talk about the TVs. I have a lot of people that come in just to talk to me about routers. Like, they don't understand the bandwidths and the you know, what a single band, dual band, tri-band, all of that kind of stuff. They don't understand the speeds that are going on with and so I have people that come in on a regular basis. I had one guy come in with a notepad, and he was like, hey, Matt, so I want to go, and we would go over, and I would be like, all right, write this down and write this down and write this down.
I'm glad I know you, because like for the longest time I was getting frustrated because it's like in my circle, I feel like I know the most about my stuff than anyone else in my circle sometimes. And it can be very daunting because I'm like, I need someone to turn to ask questions. Like there's no store. Like there used to be Radio Shacks around here, and those people knew what they were talking about. Yeah. And those are gone. And, you know, but like we had Fry's Electronics, that's going out of business. And I don't know if you got a Fry's in Colorado, but no. It's basically like a Radio Shack, but huge, like the size of a Target. And it's all electronic stuff for the most part.
We have what's called Micro Center. It's the same thing.
Okay. But most of the people in like the computer area and all that stuff, they don't know anything about anything. Like they kind of have half-baked knowledge of something, and really they don't understand my questions. And it's like, it's pretty simple, man. Like, you just know what you're selling and you're fine. Like,
yeah. Well, like Radio Shack, you know, they sell resistors, transistors. Like, they have to know the small parts. And if you know the small parts and what they do, you can figure out the bigger parts. Yeah. When you're going to an Apple store or Target, don't ask anybody at Walmart anything, or like Best Buy, you're not going to get somebody that understands the inner workings of something. They're going to barely understand the surface, just enough to sell it to someone else that barely understands the surface.
Exactly. I was at Best Buy because I was considering getting a Windows, what's it called? Surface Book. Mm-hmm. So I think those things are sexy. Like, I'm not a Windows person, but those things are sexy, and Apple does not offer it. Like, the ability to completely turn it around and take it apart like an iPad and, you know, draw on it and whatever. I think those are pretty cool. And all I was trying to,
the functionality on that thing is crazy.
I just wanted to know one thing, like, what's the pressure sensitivity of the screen? That's it. It's a pretty simple, straightforward question. I feel like anyone who's artistic would like to know that. And most of the computers in there had a pressure sensitivity of like 1024. And he's like, let me check on that. And they had to make like 3 phone calls at Best Buy to find out that it had a 4000 pressure sensitivity. I'm like,
what? So this is what I do at Target. You know, when I get a question like that and I don't know the answer right off the bat, I'm like, you know, I don't know the exact number, but hold on a second. Okay. I'm on Google now. Pressure sensitivity of, and then, you know, it'll probably come up in the first couple of things. And they're like, oh, it's about 4000. It takes me less than a minute to get that answer, even if I don't know it right off the top of my head. I know where to go to find it. To make 3 phone calls up the chain is insanely ridiculous.
Yeah. I would love it if someone would say, I don't know. No one says I don't know. Like if I ask them like, how much RAM does this have or whatever, or ask them something specific about an item, they go, let's see. And they look at him like, well, I could have fucking done that. In fact, I did. I looked at the box. That's why I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
I guess they just assume everyone's as dumb as they are. And so they're just basically winging it and looking on the spot, like at the information to then communicate it to me.
Now, the thing that even though I hated being a computer tech, like a call center tech, I got to say I learned a lot of skills. Yeah. Especially like how to talk to people, how to understand, how to explain something, even, outside of what I know. I can just spit it out. They're not going to understand what I'm talking about. So being able to explain it to where they understand it without sounding condescending, being able to explain it, but saying, I understand you don't know this because it's not like I expect everyone to know everything that I know. Yeah. The other thing is being able to confidently say, I don't know. Yeah. But adding, I can find out. Yeah. So you say, you know what? I don't know that off the top of my head, but hold on a second. I can find that out. And just being confident in that, they feel like, okay, he knows where the information is. I do, but it's like, being able to say, you know what? I don't know, but hold on a second. And I do that at Target all the time because I'll get questions like, what is the width dimension of the LG 55-inch? And it's like, I'm not going to know that off the top of my head, but I'll be like, you know what? The rule of thumb is about 10% of minus 10% of the diagonal. So if it's a 55-inch, you're looking at around 50 inches on the wide, maybe 49.5. But hold on a second, I can give you the exact dimension. And then I'll look up the details and be like, here is the exact dimension. And it's like 49.2 or something like that.
Are they calling you to find this out? Or
they're standing there right next to me. Oh,
everyone's got a phone. You can literally just, that's a silly question.
Well, some people don't know where to find it. Okay. Especially if you look at some of the online stuff, Target.com, Walmart.com, Best Buy. Yeah. If you look up a TV, it will give you maybe 5 points of details.
That's true.
And then you have to go to to see more.
Yeah, it can get irritating. Especially with the 120 hertz business and the 240 hertz business, it's all very confusing because it doesn't all correlate. The what do you call it? 1,000 to 1 ratio. I forgot what that's called. The contrast ratio. Yeah. Even that gets confusing because everyone has a different standard that they go by.
Yeah. Now I try and tell people because 120 hertz on a TV is great. If you're going to do a gaming monitor and you go over 144 hertz, say you go to the 240, right? Yeah. Most likely you're not going to see much of a difference. The eye is not going to pick up too much more over 144. You're paying $100 more for maybe a slight difference if you're looking for it.
Apparently Linus was able to tell the difference.
Yeah, well, like a lot of computer techs would be able to tell the difference, but it's so slight that if you're just a regular gamer and you're doing Call of Duty or something, you're in the middle of the heat of the moment, you're not going to notice the difference of motion blur between 144 and 240.
That's true.
So why spend the extra $100, $200 on a 240 hertz monitor? And when it comes to TVs, you're watching a movie, there's no reason to go over 120 just because the motion blur that's going to be in there is going to be pre-filmed in the movie that you're watching. Yeah. It's showing the motion blur that's already been filmed. The only time it would maybe clean up more motion blur is a live stream of a football game or a sporting event. But going over 120, you're again, not going to see too much of a difference, and it's not worth the extra cost.
Yeah, I'm still rocking my old 1080p Panasonic plasma television because I'm afraid of all that stuff because I don't like motion flow, and it makes movies look bad. And it's so I'm afraid because I'm like, I don't know that turning it off is going to actually be off.
Right.
You know, it's like, it's kind of off, but it's still kind of there.
So get this, you might like this. Once a year around May or June, Target will sell the display TVs.
Right.
At half price.
Yeah.
So I was selling all of those. I was selling them really well. And I sold a 55-inch Samsung 4K TV, last year's model, of course. And I wrapped it for him. I had it all good and sold it to him half price. And then the next morning I come in and he brought it back, still wrapped, and just changed his mind because he doesn't want a display TV. Now I'm like, you know, I can kind of understand that, except a display TV will only bring the life of the television down by 1 or 2 years. So instead of getting 20 years out of the TV, you might get 18.
And he won't even use it that long.
Right, exactly. So I was like, okay, well, what do we do with this TV? And they're like, well, we're going to defect it and send it back to Samsung. And I'm like, no. Do a repackage, because the computer repackages it. They don't choose the price of it. You know, if they just say repackage and scan it, the computer creates a price.
Yeah.
It created a price of $275 for a 55-inch Samsung 4K TV. And I was like, I'm buying it. And then they had a Samsung sound bar for 75% off for $40. $150 sound bar with a subwoofer for $40. And then that, with my Target discount and everything, I got the sound bar, the subwoofer, and the TV for under $300.
Nice.
So that is posted up there. I used to have it in the background for a lot of my videos, but I didn't like the way it looked on video, so I have it above my bed now.
That's really cool, man. It feels good to get a good deal. This is nowhere near the same level, but I was at Target, and it was Black Friday, or it was Thanksgiving, really. And so what I do is I wait for the rush. The rush goes in. Mm-hmm. I go in for the scraps. Because there's usually good scraps still. Like, I'm not trying to save $10 on a TV on Black Friday. Like, I don't care. I really just look for the software, the games. And so I know I have Shadow of War on PC, but it's like there's a little bit more effort in playing a PC game than flipping on a console.
Right.
And so I wanted it for the PlayStation or the Xbox. And so I found it. It was a deal. Shadow of War for $10 on Xbox One. I'm like, that's a killer deal. And the person working the game area opened up the display case, and they found one that was like the super gold edition or something or another. And they're like, oh, we don't have like this in our computer for some reason. I'm like, well, can you just give it to me for $10? And because of the, how the frenzy of it all, they were trying to just figure it out real fast. I'm like, okay, it's fine. We'll sell it to them for $10. It turns out that that's actually like $100 for that item.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, so say if I was in that situation, because I run electronics, so I make those decisions. If someone came to me and that was not in the system, and we ran out of the copies that you wanted, I would be allowed to do that.
Oh, cool. Okay.
To say, or to go, well, because it's the special edition, what about 15?
Yeah.
Instead of 10.
That's still a good deal. Like,
it's insane. But, because we do price matching, like we do all kinds of stuff to make sure our, people are happy.
Yeah.
And if it's not in the system, it's probably like an online thing that was never picked up. Or, we're trying to get rid. It's like one copy we have in the store, and we're just trying to get rid of it.
Yeah. The price matching at Target, this is such a weird thing to talk about. The price matching system at Target is so much better than it used to be, because it used to be that they would send you down to the return center and have you wait in line there to price match it. I'm like, it would get to the point where I've got this game in my hand and I'm trying to save $1, literally, at this point. because if you take into account how much time it takes you to stand there, you're really saving nothing.
So we have these my devices at work, and they're basically really thick versions of a cell phone with Android on it.
Yeah.
We have an app called Price Matching.
Yeah.
And we click on it, we can scan an item, and we can go to whichever store that you were wanting to price match, and we can look it up right there. And we're like, yep, that's the price. And then we just do it.
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah.
Should we talk about some Bollywood stuff before it gets too late?
Yeah.
I feel like so many people would have clicked out by now.
Oh, and they have, but that's all right.
Yeah.
So, let me see here. So the aggressive expansion of the internet in India. So like we both started in 2015. You were like in the summer of 2015, I think.
No. What do you mean? YouTube in general or India?
Doing reaction videos.
I started doing reaction videos when the Force Awakens teaser trailer dropped.
Okay, that's when I start.
Okay. Like that was a conversation I just really wanted to be part of. And it was one of those things where everyone, because I had a following of people, and then I had people who weren't subscribed, but they'd see my stuff and then bounce.
Well, yeah, because you had those like martial art films and like your lightsaber battles, right?
Yeah, I had that. And I also had a show called Good Thing, Bad Thing. It was a talk show with me and my buddy Sintel. I had movie reviews with me and my ex-girlfriend's daughter. And, that was a whole thing. And then Force Awakens happened. I was like, I really want to do this trailer reaction. And then after that, everyone's like, you need to do more of these. And I did, but it was very inconsistent. And it wasn't until my breakup with that ex-girlfriend that I decided to just hone in on trailer reactions. And that was at the very end of 2015.
So when did you start doing Indian reactions? About
Christmas 2015.
Oh, wow.
The very first video I put out for India was around Christmas. Which movie trailer? There was two of them, I believe. There was one that was a boxing one. It was not the one with Priyanka Chopra. And then Nirja. My first one was Bahubali. It's a good one to start with. Yeah. And I did that, I think, in the middle or the end of January of 2016. Oh, so about the same time. Yeah. So I started doing, I did Force Awakens in, October of 2015 when that one came out is when I started doing reactions. Or no, that was the trailer. I didn't do the teaser, which was the summer or earlier. I don't even know anymore. Yeah. And then I was doing American and whatever came in. I did sports videos and whatever requests. And then in January, I did Bahubali. And I thought it looked cool, and so I went and watched and reviewed the movie. And at the time, none of the reactors watched the movie. And that was early February. And so I got 1,000 subs a month for 4 months or something because people are like, he watched the movie. That's crazy. Yeah. Even now, though, most of the people don't watch the movies. Yeah. And I try to watch as many as I can, but not having money and working YouTube and the nonprofit for no money. Yeah. My time is limited. So I try and get to the theater as often as I can, but I got to travel pretty far to see. Your subscribers haven't sent you any DVDs? They did. I do have some, and I've reviewed a couple. I need to do more older movies. Yeah. It's more of finding time to sit, because when I review an older film, I have to pay close attention to it. It's a good, 3 hours to watch the movie, an hour or two to go through how I want to analyze it. And then you got to film it, edit it. It's a good 6 to 8 hour endeavor for every video. I don't always have that much time. What I have learned to do is watch stuff with speed controller. So if I'm watching it on Netflix, I use speed controller. It's not something you can use for the musical bits because it'll mess up the song. Right. But for everything else, you can use it, and it just compresses the time. Right. So if you're watching if you're watching something that's about an hour, you can shave off like 15 minutes from that hour, or even more.
And you don't find it hard to? I have never done that. I might try it, but subtitles, do they go by too quick?
It depends. If you're watching a film from a particular South Indian region, it will feel like that, because I forget which language it is. It might be Telugu or Tamil, but like one of those languages, if it's on speed controller mode, it will feel too fast, because they're
heavy on dialogue.
There's so much dialogue being. I don't know how they do it. It's just the language, but there's so much dialogue happening in the time span of like 10 seconds, and so even just on regular mode, that can be tough. That can be brutal for an American to watch, because you have to go back and like rewind that and pause it just to understand the context. For Hindi stuff though, it's pretty smooth, and you can watch. I mean, I watched. I needed to review. I knew I was going to watch 2.0, and I needed to watch in Theron, and so I had access to a website to watch in Theron, and I put it on. I used speed controller, except I didn't use speed controller in the music because it would mess up the songs, like I said.
Right.
But I still got the context. I was still able to keep up with it all. I was still able to feel all the emotional beats. Speed controller doesn't ruin anything as long as you're doing it within reason. But if you're doing it beyond reason, obviously it's going to feel like you're watching something and fast forward.
Well, and we've seen, both of us, we've seen enough movies that, that's not going to affect our experience on the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I reviewed Enteron almost 2 years ago, I think it was, when I reviewed it. And then, when 2.0 came out. When a lot of the times I prefer to watch the movies at a regular speed, just because I'm reading and then analyzing the screen at the same time. Yeah. So when I'm in the theater, I'll like read the subtitles as quick as I can and get the base knowledge of what the dialogue is. But then my eyes will flash up and I'm analyzing color schemes and, the CGI, if there is any, or the cinematography, blah, blah, blah. 'Cause I'm very much into the technical aspects. I love the technical aspects. And so if you ever see me watching a movie, it's like,
yeah,
I'm like bouncing all over the place.
Yeah, I totally get it. I try to not get super hung up on the subtitles, because as long as I'm feeding off of the character's emotion in the scene, like as long as I have a basic context as to what's happening, and it's not culturally, there's not some kind of cultural barrier in this situation, I feel like I still understand what's happening. Because the thing about it is the subtitles are not always great translations.
That's true.
Like it's giving you this kind of rudimentary understanding as to what they're saying. And so it's like, well, if they're not going to care, then I need to do something else to really absorb this. And so I try to take as much as I can from just their behavior, mm-hmm. and the cinematography and whatnot. And then the subtitles help to amplify that as opposed to the other way. Well,
and if you got a good director, they're going to have some great visual storytelling.
Exactly.
And if you have an actor like, I don't know if you saw Raman Raghav 2.0.
I did.
Nawazuddin Siddiqui had done so much acting without any dialogue. Just his face, his eyes, like there was a lot of the story that he told just through his acting without much dialogue. And so if you've got a good director, if you've got a good actor, the visual storytelling will tell you most of everything you need to know.
The co-star in that, Vicky Kaushal, mm-hmm. At that time, I had no idea who he was, and I didn't really think too much of him. But since that film, I've seen a lot more of his stuff, and he's become totally one of my favorite actors, along with Nawazuddin Siddiqui.
Didn't you get a tweet from him or something for doing an interview?
Yes, I interviewed him last night.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And so that was one of the most delightful interviews I've done so far, because he was such a cool guy.
Dude, Twitter is awesome.
Yeah.
Because that's how I got in contact with Madhavan, and all the people involved with Breathe was through Twitter. It's crazy.
Okay. Yeah, it's nuts. It's been cool. It's been great. I'm thankful for it. That's how I've gotten a lot of my interviews. So, but yeah, I mean, he's profoundly grown on me, and like that's why I tweeted at him and asked him if he would take an interview with me, because like just watching his body of work, like I said, because I rewatched my review of Raman Raghav 2.0 just the other day. I'm like, what did I say about him? And what I said wasn't the greatest like thing. I wasn't very complimenting of his acting in that movie, but it's because I didn't have any context. Like now looking back, I'm like, oh, like that was a dark role, and he actually went away from who he is in a very strong and profound way, especially when you put it in context with his other body of work. And so I think he's very, very versatile and talented. Yeah,
my brother doesn't watch a lot of Indian films, but he watched Raman Raghav 2.0, and we both reviewed it together. And yeah, he was impressed. He was able to pick up a lot of that stuff too, which was great. Speaking of brothers, I do just want to give a shout out to your brother, Greg, because when I first got into reaction videos, I was watching Real Rejects with Greg and John, and then also like Tyrone Magnus, of course, and some of those others. But I was like, I can do that. That's how I got into it. So shout out to the Real Rejects. Love you guys. You guys do good stuff.
He's the reason I'm doing it. So
yeah, he helped you get started, from what I understand.
Well, what happened was, I mean, I don't know how much you've seen, like, in terms of personal stuff. Like, there's personal videos I put out on YouTube, and those are the ones that, I mean, it just varies. Like, sometimes those are the ones that are the most watched, sometimes they're the least watched. But, like, I really went deep on my 500,000 subscribers video.
I think I saw that one.
Yeah, that was one where that's the one where I revealed, like, okay, this is exactly, this is sort of like what happened. And I did it from other people's perspective instead of my own, because you always hear me talk.
Right.
So why not give a chance to the people who like bailed me out emotionally and mentally from like that really dark place I was in. And, I basically went to him first and I was like, is it cool with you if I do reaction videos? Because I really want to do like Star Wars. And then people are asking me to do more. And he's like, he didn't care. But I knew I needed to find my own audience, because when I started out, it was like I was just shy of being irrelevant. Greg was like the cream of the crop, and I was like just shy of like being, who is this guy? And I think I had like 16,000 subscribers, and the Indian stuff was something I stumbled upon. It was like
same here,
totally by accident. I was just looking for other stuff because I was like, if I don't find something different to share with my American audience, I'm going to be lost in the sauce. I need something new that they probably haven't seen before. And I found the Indian stuff, and I was like, pretty sure there's no other Americans looking at this. Why not? Let's look at it. And then, that's when Indians found me, and it kind of just blew up from there.
Yeah, I stumbled on it too, because at the time, when you're that low of subscribers, you don't get very many comments. And when someone asks you to react to something, you're like, ooh, a request.
Exactly.
And so I got a request for Bahubali. And the thing is, my dad has been a huge fan of Indian films for like 20 plus years.
Oh, wow.
But, he would watch them by himself. Every once in a while, he would get silly, like at Thanksgiving, he would just stand up and then start dancing and singing whatever song he had listened to.
Wow.
So I was always exposed to it. And he showed me movies like Iga and Gajani and stuff like that back in the day. But so I knew about it. I just didn't know all the details. So I got really interested because when I did Bahubali, I think in that first video, I actually said Bollywood. And then it's like every comment, it's not Bollywood, and then that's when I learned about all of the film industries. And that's when I got really interested. And I'm like, wow, it's so complex. And I love complexity. So
Red Letter Media actually had a great bit about that, what you just said, because they were having this dialogue. They were doing a review of something. And I forget the name of the smaller guy, the skinnier guy. He's like, oh, don't worry. One person will correct us in the comments, and everyone else will see that, and they won't feel the need to correct us as well. They'll just
they will
vote that up. he was being facetious, but it was great, because I'm like, I totally relate to what you're saying. Like it's like everyone is telling you the same thing, and sometimes it's like really frustrating. It's like, I wish there was a way to kind of send out a PSA to everybody, like, we got that one. Like,
right. Yeah,
you know?
a lot of people will comment without reading comments, of course. Talking about comments, how do you deal with comments? Like, one of the things I like to do is after I upload a video, I try and upload a video when I'm home. There's a few times where I time it, like I'll schedule it, like I did with the last video I did on my second channel, the American channel.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you do with, how do you do with all, oh wait, oh, never mind. I thought your video was cutting out, but it's not. Do you stick around like after a video gets uploaded and like look at comments? I'll stick around for about half an hour to an hour and try and like reply to a lot of comments as they're coming in.
You might find me replying, but I do read them. It's one of those things where I just read them. I just look at them.
Because you get a lot. You get a lot of comments.
Yeah. I mean, there's a conversation happening between, it's almost like a forum.
Right.
You know, the people are talking to each other, and I really dig that. I try not to interfere with that too much, and I just let it come out and see, you know, I like to know the general feeling as to what people's experiences were with that particular video. And if someone's saying, why'd you react to this? Or why don't you react to this instead? It's like, well, I can't do much with that. There's no conversation there. And so I don't reply to that. But if there is like a genuine thing that I can respond to, I try to. But most of my interest is almost like just being kind of an observer, or almost like a fly on the wall and just watching it, as opposed to getting involved. But like sometimes if it's a passionate discourse of some kind, then I'll definitely respond. It just depends on what it is.
Yeah, I try and get in the conversation. I like to chat with them. But for like requests, I don't really reply. I see them, but I don't reply to them because I used to. Yeah. I used to reply to them, and then if I couldn't get to that reaction, people would get pissed off. And so I was like, look, I see it. I don't know if and when I could get to it. My time is limited. Like, I have reaction videos I need to do, and I haven't had the time to do them yet. I wanted to do a reaction to John Wick Chapter 3. And I was like, all right, I'll get to it. I'll do it. And then we went and saw Glass, and they had it before Glass. And I'm like, damn it, now I can't react to it. But maybe I can review it, you know? Yeah.
I mean, for situations like that, what I try to do, and it's not something I do too often, like I will literally get up and walk out of the theater sometimes because I don't want to be exposed, or I'll cover my ears and eyes. I'm like, I'm not going to let this mess up what I'm doing at home.
Right.
So, but if I've seen it and people are asking me to review it, I will literally say at the beginning of the video, I've watched this already, just as an FYI. This is my second time watching it. Yeah. And people are usually cool. Like, people just genuinely want to kind of experience it with you.
Well, and like the reaction videos I do, because they're longer, the value that I put in is after the reaction, you know, my analysis of the trailer. Now, most people are going to click off right after the reaction, but my core fans that, you know, follow me and have notifications on, they're watching that second half. And so if I just come on and say, look, I've seen this, we're just going to jump right into analyzing it. You know, there's no point in doing a reaction. The people that would have clicked off after the reaction, they already leave. And the core fans that would have stuck around after a reaction, they're the ones that watch it, and they're the ones I care about. So I would do the same thing.
I would say in those instances, I would still do a reaction, because if you feel comfortable doing it, I would just, for those people who really want to see your reaction, like the ones that came for that, because what you end up doing is like pissing them off. Like, where's the reaction? And then there's like a whole bunch of comments about like, where's the reaction? You know?
Right. Well, I don't put the word reaction in the title. At
even
that
so,
point,
even so, like they what happens is people get excited, right? And so let's say it's John Wick 3. They don't see the last part of it. They see John Wick, they click. Like it's instantaneous. Right. And so when they get there, it's when they find out they didn't read the title, right, all the way through. You know what I mean?
That's true. They're looking at the clickbait of this beautiful face going like,
yeah, exactly. Exactly.
This bearded big guy getting, that's what they're clicking on. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I mean, I've had people like a litany of comments. Not so much now because I'm usually good about it, but I've had a lot of comments where people are like, "Can you do a reaction anyway, even though you've seen it? Like, please." And I'm like, "Okay, cool. Like, if you really want to see it, I'll, you know."
Yeah, I'll still tell people, look, I've seen this, but let's go through it.
Yeah.
Let's watch it again.
Yeah.
I'm a fan. Let's do it.
Yeah.
So, you know, because we've been talking for a long time, I really wanted to get to this one, but visiting India and some of the travel,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I liked the little vlogs that you had done when you went to visit India, even though it was kind of I think you went twice, right? One was a really short trip. Or just once. Just once. But
the videos are spread apart.
Right.
Yeah.
So how was that experience for you?
I'm kind of a weird person because like people thought that when I went to India, I was going to be doing a bunch of meetups with subscribers. And for me, it was one of those things where if you caught me in the wild, awesome. Like I'll stop and chat with you. Mm-hmm. But I like to get personal with people. Like sometimes I'll hit up people on my Instagram, like people who follow me, and I'll just chat with them because that to me is interesting as opposed to this kind of like general thing where I'm just talking at everybody at once. And I did do that, but like people were getting mad that I wasn't doing meetups. And because I just wanted to kind of experience what they experience. I wanted to see what it's like, even though my perspective is still going to be fundamentally different because I didn't grow up there.
Right.
I wanted to see their world and to kind of experience what India is and see some of the famous sites and stuff like that. Like be a little half tourist, half just be there and meet up with friends that I made over the internet. Because I made a lot of friends, and there were people who work in the industry that really wanted to meet up with me. Mm-hmm. And so that was really cool because I got to go to TVF.
Right.
And they gave me the whole tour, and it was like I felt like, I mean, they would argue that I am, but I felt like a celebrity. Right. You know, because of the way everyone treated me, I was like, this is so cool. Like I was super friendly with everybody. We had a good time. It was a wonderful experience, and I find myself missing India, which is, it's like I didn't know that I would. I mean, it sounds kind of silly to say now, but like there are days where I'm just sitting there, I'm like, I really, really, really want to go back. It's not the most practical thing. Right. And so I'm hoping to go back this year, sooner than later, but no solid plans have been made yet. It's definitely different. You know, growing up in the States, it's like it's totally different.
I really want to go, you know, but traveling on a Target pay, it's not going to happen. But I do want to go one day. I really want to go. I just want to make sure I go when it's not so hot. Like,
here's the thing. The value of the dollar is worth more than the value of the rupee. Right. Mm-hmm. And so for every dollar, I don't know what it is right now, but the exchange rate, I think, is 67 rupees for every dollar. Mm-hmm. And so you're generally finding that you can probably, with a target salary, you can still probably get by all right. The expensive part is the flight. Yeah. And maybe the lodging. But you might even find that you have some subscribers who would be happy to help you out.
I've got plenty of subscribers that have offered me spots. For me, it's really the missing work time.
Gotcha.
I don't get paid for that time. So I'd have to have enough money saved up to cover the cost of the time that I'm missing.
Yeah.
Otherwise, bills don't get paid.
Yeah, that's true.
So for your future plans, do you have any more short film stuff? Because I love that last one at the pool at that house. I loved it. Especially the moment when she comes out of the side, drags you into the water. That was a great short film.
That was all very spur of the moment, that short film. It was one of those things where Achara's sister had this, she's got this property, and we were staying there because it was Thailand, and I'm like, we should shoot something. I've got a Canon 5D. Like, we should shoot something. That's why I bought this camera, and that's why I brought it. And so I just wrote something in less than 24 hours. And then the next 24 hours we shot it, and I almost tossed it, to be perfectly honest with you. It was one of those things where I didn't know what to do. My buddy who lives upstairs, I gave it to him, and I was like, do you think we should do this? He's like, I don't know. And he's like, well, let me try some stuff. And he tried some stuff out, and he brought that thing to life. Like, like I almost scrapped it completely. So I have him to thank in large part for making it what it is.
Proof that if you have a good editor, you can turn to something good in the edit.
Yeah. The only thing I don't like about that short film is some of the dubbing. Like, I still think about going back and fixing some of the dubbing because I'm like, it doesn't sound like me. And people even commented, like, it doesn't sound like you. I'm like, no, it doesn't. I can hear it doesn't sound like me. So as far as other projects, like, I don't like to talk about it anymore because I've had moments where I do, and then like it falls apart and like, God damn it, now I put that out there and it's not happening. Right. So
don't talk about it until you're in the edit and you know you're going to release it. Yeah,
once something's shot, I'll update you on that. But I don't like to talk about it anymore just because. You
can always tell me in private.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say anything. You know, like I've been talking with Toma Puck for the past year and a half, 2 years, and I haven't really talked about any of his stuff.
Right.
So don't worry. I'm not going to like ruin anything for you.
Yeah. Toma Puck is apparently a very smart guy.
He is. He's a great dude.
I had no idea. Like what happened was initially I didn't like him. He irritated me for the longest time. And then I saw he wasn't doing videos anymore, and I was like, well, that sucks. What the hell happened? So I reached out to him and he told me what was going on, and he's like, seems like you got this under control. It's like, I don't need to do these videos. You've got this whole Indian reaction thing taken care of. I'm like, yeah, but what about you? Like, why aren't you doing this anymore? And like, we went back and forth, and it turned out he was a super cool guy. And it made me sadder that he wasn't doing the videos anymore because I grew like a stronger affinity for him after he stopped.
Well, when I saw your video about, you know, what happened, where's Toma Puck?
Yeah.
I was like, damn it, why didn't I do that video? Because I had been talking to him for like 6 months or a year. I knew all that stuff. I'm like, oh man, why didn't I ask if I could do that video? But he actually filmed a little thing for my 20,000 subscriber celebration thing.
Oh, nice.
And it's at the end of the video. So I think that's the first time he's been on YouTube since his last reaction.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's a great guy. He's a nice dude.
Yeah.
Do you have any plans for like doing podcasts or more vlogs? Maybe some martial arts stuff?
Always. But it's just what we do currently takes up so much of our time. And so we are currently training a new editor.
Oh, nice.
And so I'm hoping that frees us up to do other things. We'll see. Like it, you know, we had an editor before, and then she ended up moving to Texas because something emotional happened with her. It had nothing to do with us. And she eventually just had to stop editing. And I was like, all right, well, that's great. We invested a lot of time in you so that you could learn how to edit our style, and then it's fine. And so now we're training someone else. And so I'm hoping that enables us to focus more on that other stuff that we've been wanting to bring to the channel for.
Having an editor would save so much time.
Yeah. And so to answer your question, like all of that stuff, like we just shot a podcast the other day, and I have no time to edit that right now. Like there's so many irons in the fire at any given moment. I just don't have the time to edit it right now. I'm going to try my best, but like I get concerned about, you ever see a 310 to Yuma, the movie?
Oh yeah.
There's a commentary track.
The new one or the old one?
The one with Russell Crowe and I think Christian Bale.
The remake.
Yes. The director did a commentary, and if you get 3/4 of the way into that commentary, at some point he says, you know, you have to respect your audience's time. You know, you are asking them for 2 hours of their time, and you need to justify that. You have to respect it. And so for me, I took that to heart, hearing that, and I'm like, I ran with that. And so whenever I'm doing a video, I'm trying my best to respect my audience's time. Like even if there's no cuts, there better be a damn good reason there's no cuts.
Right.
Like it has to be that interesting. It better be profoundly interesting. Like whether it's even like nuances in the dialogue and the conversation, or if it feels natural and it just, you know, has a nice flow to it, then fine. But like with the podcast, if there's a lot of ums and uhs and just gaps of nothing and it's just aimless, like I try to take out all of that nonsense so that it feels more focused and easy to listen to.
Yeah, when I'm doing editing, I look at those silent gaps, and I have like a threshold where I'm like, okay, this gap is just a little too long.
Yeah,
I'm gonna let a little bit of gap at the end and a little bit at the beginning of the next step, but I'm gonna cut out this 1 or 2 seconds.
Yeah. So
it'll jump, but not very much. But I don't do it too often for things like this, just because I think, especially like, I think our flow of conversation has been pretty damn good.
Yeah.
I'm not too worried about the edit. Of course, I'm going to scrub through it and just make sure everything is smooth and okay, but I don't really see myself editing it too much.
Right.
Just to wrap up a couple of things that I wanted to ask you about.
Yeah.
We all get haters, you know, haters are everywhere.
Yeah.
So what do you say to people that tell you that, oh, you're doing a fake reaction or you're soft reviewing this just because you want to stay popular? Like, how do you, I know we don't really respond to them in the comments that often, but like, what do you say to somebody that says you're fake reacting?
I used to make like, I used to take it to heart and make a whole video about it and like respond. Like I'd take all these people's comments and I'd be like, look, this person's saying this. And then there would be my response to that person, that specific person. And what would piss me off is that I would never get confirmation if that person actually watched the video most of the time.
Right.
You know, because more than likely they drop this hate bomb and then bounce.
And then they're gone. Right.
And they're not coming back. Like, because the thing is, as a YouTuber, especially early on, it's almost like that person is persistently saying that to you, even though they said it and they forgot about it. They're not even thinking about it anymore.
Right.
But because it's there immortalized, so to speak, it's as if they're persistently saying it to you. And like, I would try to wrestle with it. But now when someone says that to me, it doesn't even faze me anymore, to be honest with you. Like if someone says you're being too easy on this review, maybe I'll take that to heart a little bit. I won't respond to them, but like every now and then I'll respond and be like, you know, I'm an optimistic guy. Like, what do you want? I treat everything, and I put it out there. I treat everything like a friend showed it to me, you know? So like, if you showed me your short film, there's a certain way I'm going to critique it because I don't want to be an asshole. So
right.
I call it the PNP, the positive, negative, positive. So if I'm going to tell you something negative, I'm not going to hide it from you, but I'm going to put it between two positive ideas so that it softens the blow. And it's like, to a degree, it's softening the review, but it's like, to me, that's constructive criticism. So if the filmmaker watches that review, which there's a strong likelihood he will, I'm giving him constructive feedback so that the next time around he or she can play with that if they feel so inclined, as opposed to being like, this is garbage, this sucks. It's like someone spent years of their life working on this.
Right.
I'm not going to just trash it unless it's like Predator. Like that was fucking horrible. Like
for me, it was Assassin's Creed. That was insanely horrible.
But like there was one Indian film that I felt very strongly like negative about, which was Helicopter Ela. And it was because I felt like my money was hijacked from me. And like I paid money to watch it, and it felt like this commercial for like the first hour of the movie. And I was like, what the hell? Like, where's the movie? Where's the story? Where's the thing I paid money to watch? That was pretty upsetting. But it's like, if I see that they're trying, I'm going to talk to them like the way I would talk to a friend, you know, and that's just how I go about it.
Yeah. And I take budget into consideration as well. You know, maybe they just didn't have the budget to do that, or where were they putting the money? You know, were they trying to do something bigger than they actually had a budget for? You know, maybe you shouldn't do that. I'm also a very optimistic viewer. So like one of my favorite movie reviewers on YouTube is Chris Stuckman.
He's the one that taught me the philosophy, actually. That he's like, he goes, you should come at it as a fan before anything else.
Yeah, I do the same thing. Yeah. Now, I grade movies. It's funny because I don't watch reviews. I don't look at anything before I see a movie until after I do my review. And then when my review is over, I'll go and look at other people's reviews. Mm-hmm. I think like 85 to 90% of the time, I end up grading a movie one notch above what Chris Stuckman votes it. So like if I give it an A-, he gave it a B+, or if I gave it a B, he gave it a B-. I'm like, damn it, Chris. It's always like what? But I think it's just because I'm an optimistic viewer, and I do the same thing. I always talk about positives first. Yeah. Then I will get into some negatives, and then my wrap up, which kind of talks a mix of all of it.
Yeah. But I mean, I try to just make sure in general I'm not hiding the negative aspect of something that I feel. Even to Vicky Koshel, like I told him in the conversation with him, I'm like, because I wanted to talk to him about the fight scenes in the movie of Urdi. Mm-hmm. I was like, the fight scenes actually is one of my small negative critiques about the movie. And it's like, it's hard to say that to somebody's face, but I did, because I'm like, I need to get this out in order to talk about, because I don't want what I say to him to conflict with what I say in the review. Right. So I told him straight up, I'm like, well, this is how I feel about the fight scenes. Your part in it was great, but I just wish it was more gritty, And so like, I try to just always get it in there and not hide it, because if you don't put it in there at all, then, to me, you're not helping the filmmaker improve.
Well, and it also depends on how you say it.
Yes, exactly.
Like, I can give criticism, constructive criticism, and it's more of like, this is just my opinion.
Yes.
There are some reviewers that give the same information, but in a very angry way. Like they're offended that you did that in the first place. Yeah. That always makes people feel defensive.
Yes.
And they're like, hey, F you, Yeah. Yeah. But if you're like, I didn't really like this and this is why. Yeah. Maybe you did like it, whatever, but I didn't because of this, this, and this. That would be more of some people might see it as soft, but I see it as constructive criticism. Like if someone talked to me that way in the comments for my videos, I would take it more seriously than someone going, you suck, you're stupid, you don't know what you're talking about because of this. Yeah. Or they just leave a comment, you're an idiot, but they don't, tell me why I'm an idiot. Yeah. But if they have, I have people that I trust that will give me constructive criticism. They're like, I don't like the way that you did this. And I'll be like, probably right.
Sometimes I troll those people who are just mad in the comments. And there's no good reason for how angry they are. And what I'll do is I'll respond, but dumber, like on purpose. And they'll try to explain it. I'm like, but what do you mean? Like, which actor? He wasn't in the movie. And they're like, what do you,
I go a different route. And I think it's because I am highly logical. Yeah. I end up getting, if I do respond to those, I get super logical and I just give facts and information and almost as if I'm talking like a robot. Yeah. And then they have no way, because I'm super calm, I'm not attacking them, and I just give points. And a lot of those kind of haters, they can't handle the logic. Like they can't take it because I'm not giving them the emotional feedback that they were looking for. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've taken that approach as well. I mean, it just depends on how I feel that day, honestly. I mean, for me, I just try to. My philosophy is I'm trying my best to have as much fun as possible. Right. There was a music video reaction that we did, and I kind of knew in advance how people were going to feel about it. But I'm like, screw it, I want to have fun. Like, if hopefully us having fun, they'll have fun with us. Hopefully.
And immediately there was some negative feedback as soon as the video went up. I was like, I saw that coming. Like I knew people were going to be upset, but like I had fun doing the video because it's like it was just silly goofiness, and I enjoyed it so much that I doubled down and I did a post on my Instagram from an excerpt because I'm like, so many people didn't watch the entirety of it because they don't even like that artist, and I'm like, but you guys miss out on so much hilarity, so much sarcasm in the conversation that ensued. And so, but everyone's got a different perspective on what we should be doing. And
so with song reactions, I don't do song reactions because I've had so many problems with copyright issues.
Yeah, I only do it with, or I try to only do it with when I get permission.
Yeah. And if I do, because I'll have people going, oh, they won't give you a copyright claim. And I'm like, yeah, but if I do one music reaction, I'm going to get 10,000 requests in the comments for other music reactions. And I barely have the time to do trailer reactions, let alone 10,000 music videos. And I've had so many problems with copyright claims and blocks that I'm just turned off by it.
Yeah. It can be very frustrating. The music video stuff, I just try to let people know, like, I am not trying to put my channel at risk because there are some people who are aggressive and will try to get your channel shut down just for doing, a certain kind of reaction. And I've had, I've had some perilous moments, some harrowing moments where I'm like, I was scared that I was on the verge of losing my channel because these people just decided to do a copyright strike instead of a claim, or, instead of talking to me. My email's right there on the YouTube channel. Like, you can talk to me and ask me to take it down. But, and so I've had some scary moments. And so I try to mitigate that as well.
Well, just like when all of us had those strikes happen for Kabali.
Oh, yeah. I think you warned me. Before.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I sent you a message because I got this strike. I had 2 videos up for Kabali because I did the trailer reaction normal. And I forgot to talk about the music, and I couldn't stop thinking about the music. So I did a second video with no picture-in-picture. It was just a quick, dirty, me silly dancing around saying, I really like this song. And because of all of the strikes, that second video didn't get taken down because there was no picture-in-picture. And it ended up, I think it's at like 240,000 views.
Oh, wow.
Right now, just because it was the only video. When people searched for Kabali reaction, it was the only video that came up. And then like you, me, and BollyFools were all trying to like get in contact with them to try and get that strike take. And you guys did. You ended up getting them to stop with the strikes. But yeah, that was a crazy, crazy time.
I think BollyFools gets more of the credit for that one.
Yeah.
Because when you warned me, I didn't even put up a reaction with the video. Like I just did my review of it. I quickly took my reaction down and put up the review because I got scared. But yeah, BollyFools, they fought hard for that. That was another group. Like I reached out to them because it was an interesting thing. They were doing the Indian reactions in May of 2015.
Yeah.
And so I came on the scene and totally surpassed them. And I was like, oh shit, like they're probably going to be really annoyed because I know I would be annoyed if I was in their position. So I don't want to be viewed as a jerk to them because I know they've been doing this longer. They've been putting in the time. And so I actually reached out to them to do a video like this. And, and we had a conversation about like what we could do together, how we could collaborate. And I actually ended up becoming friends with them. Because they're really cool people. And I actually was really sad when they decided to stop doing what they do. Like they haven't put up a video in like a year.
Yeah, I haven't talked to them too much personally, but I ended up talking to the guy that runs their Twitter account at the time, Kartik.
He's in Los Angeles. Well, sort of. Yeah.
Yeah, he because it was surreal and weird for me in that first year. I started getting tweets from BollyFools. Like they were retweeting my things or publicly tagging me on stuff. And I'm like, why are the BollyFools following some channel with 3,000 subscribers? Like at the time, I didn't understand. And then I got a message from Kartik, and he was telling me, oh, I run, I'm a fan of your stuff, and I just wanted to share it. And I'm like, oh, that's crazy. That's weird. But he ended up working with Pardesi. I don't know if you know much about her, but she was on the BollyFools channel after they left.
Oh, is she the older lady?
Yep. So
Okay.
her name's Melanie, and she was on BollyFools channel for a while because when Kartik lived in Chicago, they had met because he had looked at her stuff.
Yeah.
And then, or he met her at the theater one day or something like that because she was a big fan of Indian movies.
I think I caught that.
And then they broke off and made their own channel called Pardesi.
Yeah.
So she's doing really well. I've done a lot of collabs with her. She ended up, her and her husband came to Colorado during July 4th, I think, last year. And she came by the house and we did some videos together. She's awesome. You should look her up.
There are some conversations I've had with the BollyFools that still have influence over some of the things I do now. Some, behind the scenes stuff that I don't generally talk about. And like it was interesting. I learned a lot from them. But one of the things I noticed is like the BollyFools were pretty fierce with like what you were talking about earlier in terms of like, if they didn't like something, they didn't hide it. They were putting it all out there. And I'm like, okay, man, like you're coming at it strong. And there's a lot of people who are passionate about this stuff. And so I think I tried saying that to them at one point. I'm like, you got to be mindful of people's feelings,
Well, I'm a true believer in don't try and pretend. If you're like, if that is their natural personality, do it.
Yeah.
My natural personality is to probably be a bit nicer. I just be myself. And I'm a true believer in the fact that if you are your true self, then the viewers will find you. Because there's going to be viewers that are looking for people that want to be angry, and they'll gravitate to those personality types. And there's people that want people that are more optimistic, and those people would gravitate to my channel. So I think if you're pretending to be a character, and your brother had the same problem when he had that character that he was doing in 2015 and 16, and then changed out of it and became himself. He realized it's not sustainable. I can't sustain this. It's too stressful. So if you just be yourself, then it's a sustainable thing. You're still going to get stressed out over trying to get enough videos out, but at least you're not trying to pretend to be somebody else.
Right. Well, I mean, I think everything, I'm trying to think of how to respond to that. Being kind, I think, is something everyone should learn anyway.
True.
Because that's what it was. I'm thinking of someone like Angry Joe, right? He's very successful being the angry voice, but like I've watched his stuff. He's not angry all the time.
No.
He's just passionate. And if people don't like when someone is just consistently negative, that's what I've noticed just in life in general, with YouTube, whatever it might be, with reviews. If you're just persistently negative, people are turned off by that. It's not nice to be around. But if you're funny in your complaints, like Bill Burr, if you're funny in your complaints, like Angry Joe, then people gravitate towards you and they want to hear what you have to say. There's some like angry nerd gamer or something that used to be on YouTube. Maybe he still is, but his famous review was for like Ninja Turtles, the video game, and how horrible it was. I think it was Ninja Turtles. This is like old YouTube stuff, but like he was funny. That's the thing, is it's like, it just depends. If you're funny about it, then it kind of works, because there's something positive about that, because you're evoking levity, or you're evoking you're making laughter happen. You're
Right.
bringing joy. So there's a positive angle to it. But to just come at it like with a hammer, it's like you're using a sledgehammer. What you would be, you could just, gently push it down. You're trying to resolve your issues with a sledgehammer. That doesn't work.
Yeah, the only time I kind of had an angry review, it wasn't really that angry, but it was more of like I couldn't find anything positive to say.
What was it for?
Assassin's Creed.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I think I had one positive thing where I said the production value of the 1500s looked good, except they couldn't film it properly, so you only got to see 40% of it.
Yeah. See, I used to do this split personality review, and I tried doing it 3 times for Indian films.
I kind of remember that, yeah.
And what I liked about that is it allowed me to be sarcastic about things, because then if I didn't like something, I could be funny about it. Mm-hmm. And I could still do that in conversation, but people don't always get the joke.
Right.
Like, my sense of humor is just bizarre. So, but like doing the split personality stuff, like I did a review for Maze Runner back in the day, and I still like to go back and watch it because I make fun of a whole bunch of shit because I hate Maze Runner. I hate the trilogy. Like, I think it's terrible. It's just not good. But
I watch it, but I watch it with the eyes of my 12-year-old self.
But even then, I'm just like, why did this movie have to happen? It's just like, it's so like just stupid. But I get what you're saying. Like, that's how I watch stuff like Armageddon or Fast and Furious. Like, there's just
go have fun.
Yeah, it can be fun. It can be fun. I had fun with Bumblebee. So.
I put it up there with because the only other Transformers movie I liked was the first one.
Yeah.
But I think I like Bumblebee a little bit more, and I think it's because it's a more simplistic story with just more tight characterization.
For me, it had more heart.
Yeah, and the only thing is, with the whole Transformer series, their comedy relief characters are insanely bad.
Yeah.
Like, I can't stand their comedy relief.
Yeah.
So, but Bumblebee didn't have as much of it as the other Transformer sequels. So I liked Bumblebee. I was surprised.
It was nice and simple.
Okay, one last thing before I let you go. What do you say to people and haters that say that you only do it for the money? You only react to Indian stuff because you get paid for it.
I tell them exactly what I told you, which is you guys came to me. like that's basically what happened. I mean, I put it out there for my American audience. The Indian audience came to me, and I just listened to requests. I mean, the thing is, yeah, money is an aspect to it, but that's not like the only thing. Of course, there's money involved in it. Like this is my time. I'm giving up my time to do this. So, if you go to work at your engineering job or whatever the job might be, Target or whatever it is, like there's an expectation that they're going to reciprocate with, compensating you for your time. Mm-hmm. And so if there's a way that I can if there's a way I can talk about what I'm passionate about and earn money at the same time, that's awesome. That's usually my response.
Yeah. And for me, it's like, well, when I've had people say that, because I guess they assume I'm a millionaire or something, but they're like, you're only doing this for the money. I'm like, really? The $50 a month I make off of Google, I'm really doing it for the money?
Yeah.
But I agree. It's like, look, I should be paid for my time. Yeah. If I go to work and they're like, we understand you love your job, so we're not going to pay you as much because you love it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll be like,
so stupid.
I'll be like, no, like I gotta pay bills, man.
Yeah, exactly.
And if I ever want to do this full time, to be able to put out more videos, the only way to do that is to have enough money to pay the bills.
Exactly. No, I agree with you. You gotta keep food in your stomach and clothes on your back, and rent paid, lights on, like all that stuff is important. So I try to just ignore those comments because it's nonsensical. It's a nonsensical thing to say that still gets thrown at YouTubers more than anybody else. Like, how dare a YouTuber get a brand deal?
Right.
Or a sponsorship. Like, why?
Why not?
And I find that so kind of horrible I don't even understand it. Like, I don't understand why. I never understood why someone would get upset about something like that when it's like everyone's just trying to have the best version of their reality possible.
Well, and I would tell people, like, are you upset that you have to pay $9 a month to watch Netflix?
Right, exactly.
Do you expect all of that stuff that they produce to be free?
Right. I mean, do you yell at all the actors in your movies and say you just do it for the money? It's like, no, there's that they need to be compensated for the time, but like they do it because they're passionate about it.
Right.
You know,
I see it like a commercial on a TV show.
Yeah.
The reason you can watch the TV show for free is because there's a commercial.
Exactly.
So if you're not going to pay me for the video, then allow me to find somebody that will give me some money for my video.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not making me biased.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's how I try to respond every time. Is if I respond at all, if I engage, that's.
Well, I truly believe in just don't engaging with haters, but every once in a while I'll get a comment and I won't respond to it, or I might, and then I'll take a screenshot and put it on social media, just be like, hey, check this out, you know?
Yeah.
Because I think it's funny. But yeah. I do like, you know, I'm not saying that we should respond to haters, but I think people should hear our views on haters. Yeah. That's why I brought it up.
Yeah.
Well, we've been talking for like, 2 hours now. So I think most people stopped watching. And but I want to thank you for being on.
What I do is I will I'll say, if you're still here, write hashtag, and I'll put something in like asinine in the and then you'll see it in the comments. Like, you'll see a bunch of it and you're like, wow, people actually stayed to the end, and that warms my heart every time I see it.
Okay, well, if you stayed this long, use the hashtag Matt is awesome. And if I see Matt is awesome in the comments or on social media, then I know that you stuck around.
Yeah.
But I want to thank you for reaching out to me. I know it's been a few months of us trying to figure out how to find the time to put this together.
Yeah.
And I love doing collabs. So if you ever want to do a reaction on your channel or whatever else, I'm not worried about, like, I don't care about the exposure. I've been doing this for 3+ years and I'm at 20,000 subs. It's not like I'm trying to get to 1 million overnight or anything. So if you just want to do a collab or hang out and do a video, I'm always game. Just
okay, man. Okay, awesome. Good to know.
Well, links are in the description for everything that we talked about, all of Jaby's stuff, if you don't know who he is, even though he's close to hitting 1 million subs. You know, if you only see my channel, not seen his, then that doesn't make sense. But anyway, links to everything's in the description below, and I will see you on the next video.